Hi there. This is Rob Bernardino, aka the Eye Duck, and today we're going to be doing a little work on the Skittle Orange 400. The first thing we're going to work on is an oil change. As you know, this car is a daily driver, and it's just hit over 5,000 miles, and so it's time for an oil change. And so hopefully we'll show you how to get that done on this car. So stay tuned.
So these are the tools you need to do an oil change on the Lotus, whether it's an Evora N, S, or now the 400 series. For socket wrench, you could obviously use Bach wrenches, but this is a 10 millimeter socket right there. This is a 14 millimeter socket, which is for the drain plug. There it says 14 millimeter. These are 5 millimeter Allen keys for the two Allens, actually the 4 Allen keys on the diffuser. This is a tool to remove the oil filter cartridge, and in my case I use a torque wrench to fasten that, but you could have a big socket wrench as well. I also have a oil drain pan and a little dolly, a jack, which now is over there, and some jack stands. So that's it. Hope that was helpful. There are little aluminum jack pads underneath that you can see, so I'm going to crawl underneath the car, and hopefully you can see it under here. See this little serrated metal plate is where you want to jack the car. So we're going to put the jack stand under here, the jack under here, jack the car up. There it is. Slide this into place. It is, for fear of dropping it. So I'm going to slowly lower the car down. So there's one side. Just to be on the safe side, I leave this in place under minimal tension, just like so. Diffuser. Diffuser is held in place with a lot of different bolts from below, which we have to remove. So first we have to remove this diffuser, and then after that, in front of the diffuser is the basically the engine cover plate, or whatever they want to call it. So we'll get some tools to do this, and then we'll get this all unbolted. The rear diffuser. So the diffuser has 1, and all the bolts in the back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bolts in the front. And then these 2 Allen keys, and the whole thing should slide right off. So one neat little mod that some people do, and I consider, is changing all the bolts that hold the diffuser into these little cap nuts. So it is a 5, and hopefully if I just loosen up a little bit. Well, take it nice and easy, and off comes the exhaust. Just like removing the diffuser, there are a number of 10 millimeter bolts surrounding the lower engine pan, and you just have to remove them completely. Compared to the S1 Evora, the bolts on the 400 are actually much longer, and so they take a lot more throws to remove. They're actually longer because if you notice carefully, the engine pan actually is tilted away from the body with some spacers, and on the front edge of the engine pan, actually there are these little louvers to let actual airflow. So I suspect that the engine compartment runs hotter in the 400, probably due to the higher horsepower output, and as you'll see later, larger exhaust pipes, and therefore the engine pan has been modified to accommodate more airflow. And this is the filter. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my drain, my oil catch pan, and then we're going to remove this drain plug and drain the oil. And then after that I have a special tool to remove the oil filter. Alright, so does that make sense? Okay. It's going to start pouring out in a second. There we go. And honestly, the oil doesn't look that bad in condition, but remove that little air pop there so it can start draining in. And so we'll let that drain for a little while. The other thing we can do is, there we go. So there's my engine cap, oil cap I should say. Nice aluminum one I found in ePay. I think Greg's Racing Parts now carries these, GRP. Pretty little piece of kit, it's aluminum. Nice little aluminum Lotus symbol on there. Certainly worth the price, although heavier than the factory plastic one. So I'll make sure to torque that down before we're done. Right here, and you can see in the center of it, there's a square thing where you could actually stick this in and just undo this whole thing to put the drain. But I'm not going to bother, I'm just going to move the whole thing unblocked. And you just loosen up really easy like so. You can see it spinning. And then once you get it off, the way there's actually little tabs here that I know Health Sports tool clips onto. Mine just clips on the outside there, I found. As we remove this, one thing I want you to notice also, all this heat shielding on all the braided things, which brake lines and the like. But it looks like on the 2017 400, they've gone out of the way to address all those problems. Alright, so here comes the oil filter. And it's going to be a little gush of oil, which you might get a little annoyed, but I really don't care. Because in the end I'm going to wipe everything down. The receptacle area of the oil filter, so I'm just wiping around it. Get all the oil out as best I can. So that looks pretty good. Of course, if I wipe the oil around a little bit, it gives a nice oiled look to the oil pan, which does look somewhat attractive on flat black, semi-gloss black. So here is the cartridge to the filter. There are lots of different brands out there. If you go to Lotus Talk, a lot of people have different lists about what they like or don't like, pros and cons. But bottom line, this is the factory one. Cartridge comes out. I like to give it a nice little wipe, and then the new cartridge just pops right in, like so. It has like a little spring on the bottom here. You can feel that. And then you want to replace this gasket, just like so. So there's the old gasket. Now, technically speaking, they tell you to also replace the gasket for the bottom plug here, but I usually don't even remove it, so I don't think it's necessary to replace the gasket. Since you're not removing it, you're not going to degrade it by removing it and dislodging it. So, this is the new one. Again, that's it right there. There's a little spout. This goes right on. First, you just hand tighten it into place. It's pretty easy to do. You know, a lot of people recommend wearing gloves when you work, and I agree. But I've just never gotten used to wearing rubber gloves when I work. Irony is I'm an eye surgeon and operate with gloves exclusively, but work in the car for some reason, I just don't like doing it. Alright, so just snug it up to the wrench there, good to go. Let me just snug this one up a little bit. Good. Everything looks nice and clean. Here I like to give everything a little wipe, make sure all the surfaces are clean. Good.
So the last step of the oil change is actually putting oil in. Uh, Access to the oil filler is difficult in the Evora, quite frankly, whether it's the S1 or the 400. The 400 is actually tighter access than the S1 Evora. I use this funnel with a hose at the bottom of it, which I picked up at AutoZone. The hose snakes down into the hole, and then I just hold the funnel in place and pour about a quart at a time and just let it trickle in. Of course, I have to sit inside the trunk area to do this, and it takes a little time. So that's why I sped up this part of the video 8 times speed. Back here, this yellow little filler level. That's 2 notches, minimum, maximum, and the filler hole, or I should say the oil stick hole. You can see that. After filling up the car with oil, I then start the car and let it run for about 5 minutes, and crawled underneath the car to make sure that there were no leaks. Once there were no leaks, it was back to reversing the process. First, putting on the Undertray. One note with the Undertray, there's actually at the front edge a little lip, so you just engage the lip of the Undertray. Then first hand tighten the bolts, and then when you're going to finally fasten them securely, start from the center and work outwards so that you evenly apply pressure across the plate. After replacing the undertray, the diffuser is placed back. There is a plastic bridge between the 2 grills on the back edge of the diffuser. which hooks onto a hanger just above the exhaust pipe, and then carefully wiggle and adjust the diffuser in place to clear both sides of the diffuser surround. Once it's in place, you then can align up the holes on the leading edge. Then you can place and hand tighten the nuts. After the nuts are placed on the leading edge of the diffuser, the two Allen key cap bolts are placed towards the rear edge of the diffuser. Finally, you're putting two 5mm Allen bolts between the diffuser and the hanger above the exhaust. These bolts only exist on the 400. They are not present on the Series 1 Evora. Finally, tighten all the bolts. Remember, starting from the center and working away sideways to even all the forces. Then the Allen bolts get tightened up one last time, and you're done. Well, that's it for our first DIY video on Daily Driven Lotus. Hope you liked it. I certainly can work on the video footage. Had a little difficulty with the first person view, but then again, in 5,000 miles, we'll be doing this again. So if you like what you see and want to see more like it, please like the video, subscribe to the page. Also check out our Facebook page, Daily Driven Lotus, which will also have hopefully daily, if not weekly updates, both on the Lotus, and hopefully we'll start featuring your cars, and we'll talk about that again soon. Finally, leave us a comment if there's anything you think that we can do to improve this experience. Please let me know. And I'll also put comments and links to vendors with products which can certainly help out taking care of our cars. Finally, do drive your Lotus daily. Thanks again.